Welcome, everyone. I'm Mary Claire Russell, Head of Go-to-Market at Squiz, and I'll be your moderator for today. We'll be sharing insights from Squiz's 26 years working with service-driven organisations. This is just the first in our Just Add AI webinar series, which shares practical, no-fluff guidance on building smarter digital experiences. This first session, Understanding AI's Impact on Digital Experiences, offers a clear framework to help you avoid the common pitfalls and cut through the noise. It's built for digital leaders like yourself who want real-world insights, not just buzzwords. So, joining me today is our expert AI presenter, Asaf Mehr, Senior Product Manager for AI at Squiz. Asaf and his team have focused on utilising AI for Squiz DXP and the experience for our clients. With his 25 years of experience and multiple AI-backed product launches, Asaf specialises in scaling businesses through customer-focused product delivery and building high-performing teams that create solutions customers love. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. This webinar is being recorded and you will receive a copy via email within the next day. Please submit any questions at any time in the Q&A window located at the bottom of your screen. Asaf will be answering questions at the end of this session. So, just a bit about Squiz. For those of you who are not currently working with us, Squiz is an AI-powered digital experience platform provider, or DXP for short. We've got offices across Europe, US, Australia, and New Zealand. Squiz's DXP makes it easier for marketers and developers to build, manage, and optimize intelligent enterprise websites, portals, and app experiences. Squiz offers multiple AI-bolstered capabilities built into the platform, supporting customers with content management capabilities, search, personalization, optimization, page building, and forms built using drag and drop functionality, all delivered via a composable architecture. The platform allows seamless integration with existing MarTech Squiz systems. Since 1998, Squiz has been embraced by a growing number of public and private sector-driven, service-driven organisations. Our diverse customer list now covers industry, including government, higher education, and professional services, which I can see a lot of you are from here today. Now to why you are here today. Today, Asaf will take us through AI's impact on digital experiences, the 5 common implementation mistakes, the 6 implementation framework, all finished with a Q&A session at the end. Thanks for joining us, Asaf.
Thanks, MC. Lovely to be here. So hi, everybody. I know it's probably on your mind. You've been reading and seeing a lot of AI buzz in the news over the past couple of years. It's sometimes a bit hard to avoid it for those of us who want to. So how does AI change customer expectations? We see it actually operating in several ways. So the first thing is people now expect instant answers. They want to have when they go to Google and they search for something, they get that AI overview at the top, and they kind of get used to it. They kind of want to not search and look at links. They just want the answer to the question they want, and they want it right now. We also see more conversational interface, where search used to be based on keywords. People are now used to putting in plain English, getting plain English responses, having a more of an ongoing conversation. Part of what an ongoing conversation means is personalization. So when people go to a particular website, they are used now to the website, so the brand behind it, remembering them, remember their interests, what they've subscribed to, etc., and having this ongoing back and forth interface, which is a bit of a bigger conversation in play. They kind of use the experience being tailored to them, giving them the right answer based on what they expect. All these expectations have a bit of an impact on what we're seeing across the market. So we've seen HubSpot report that 90% of customers from the service expected when they're reaching with a customer service query. And we've seen that Intercom, the provider of customer service as well, 61% prefer reply directly from AI rather to talk to a human customer service. I would say that Intercom is very heavily into AI, so take this with a grain of salt. The key distinction is, yes, People don't want to just wait for a human agent when they have a simple question, but on the other hand, they get frustrated with AI if the AI just goes in loop and they just want to speak to the person who can solve it. So it does take a little bit of frustration from users, and it's something that you will need to navigate to as well. We've seen that 90 million people now in the US are using services like ChatGPT, etc., instead of search. This is a huge impact on the industry for SEM, SEO, and in general, how people expect to interact, how they expect to have the answer. So people are clearly preferring that, and the number is growing. I think this was published in May, and those numbers is expected to grow now in when they release the June numbers. But there is a definite trend of people wanting to have that conversational interfaces, i.e., putting stuff in a natural language, in plain English, and getting a natural language response, having that whether it's a chatbot or a search interface or something else where they can just clearly communicate and get in across their need, rather than put keywords, get a list of blue links, and try to sift out the information. So at Squiz, when it comes to all that, we say that the ultimate personalization is a conversation. So when you go into a website and you put in something, a website remembers you, whether it's a government website that remember that you've asked about, a boat registration last year and you need to remind it today, or whether it's a university that knows that you're a student in the science faculty or rather in the arts faculty, being able to carry this conversation. So I remember you next time that I saw you. I remember what you're interested in. I'll show you that kind of information. I will tailor the answers based on this. If you ask when is my paper due, I will know which courses you registered, so what might it be relevant to. And this is the expectations that people are now having. And it does have an implication on every website, because when those expectations are not met, there are some direct consequences. We've seen that one AI overview can cause up to a whopping 64 decline in organic traffic for organizations. That is intense, right? When people just go to Google, get the summary and go away, or when people go to ChatGPT, get an answer and go away without going to your website to check it, it's a massive decline. If the information that those services provided is wrong, it's their fault for not checking it, but it's still your problem, right? You're not getting that traffic. You're not getting to engage with those people and give them the right information. It is a problem. Google did release a statistic last month in IO saying that people who have seen Google, the AI overview and then came to the site are more likely to engage with it deeper because they've sort of done that initial triage of the information and initial orientation around the subject. So they know what they're looking for and they're more likely to engage with it because they already did that first preliminary. But as marketers, you know that being in control on the top of the funnel is very important. So if you don't have the top of the funnel, it can lead to unfortunate results. We've also seen users drop off. So when for example, this was reached by Nielsen Norman Group, 48% of students, when they went on university sites and did not realize that the university offered the course they wanted, they just dropped off the list, right? They might have been looking for climate studies and didn't realize that the environment studies is the same subject that they're interested in. So they dropped off and they didn't register. It's all of this expectation of, I just want information. I want it quick. I want it now. I want it in the way that I understand it. I don't want to be a research into it, right? They have a shorter attention span. There's a general decline in the willingness and capacity to do critical thinking and walk through all the information, right? So universities that publish things based on how the academics and the faculties are sorting the information versus a student who's just looking for the information, or a government agency that have all their various areas rather than what the public is expecting with the answer. At that across, we see a backlash against AI experiences. So certain things, especially AI generated graphics and music, tend to get a lot of backlash from a community. This goes across audiences, age groups, and political leaning. So it's kind of hard to say, oh, it's just Gen Z or it's just that. We do see people when they see that and a brand puts something that's clearly AI generated, it's not going to interact with it. So it is something that needs to be really, really navigated closely. With that in mind, I'd actually like to ask you a question. How's it going for you? Have you tried implementing AI on your website? How's it going? Just to give you a bit of a, my take on it. We've seen people go through and try different things. We've seen executives riding the time, telling people you need to get on the AI bandwagon, and then ride off into the sunset, leaving people just wondering what to do with it. We've seen people who started it and are quite happy with it and progressing, as well as people who started it and say, "Oh, that did not work. Now we need to go back to square one and try again." So I'm really curious about how's it going, how's everybody doing, and what is your view about trialing AI? All right. I hope that we had enough questions, had enough answers. We'll analyze them later and send out the results. Oh, I see the results popping up. That's great. I see that the majority, almost 50%, just haven't started yet, but 20% are cautiously optimistic. And that was our early adopters, either with or without a gun point to their head, which is great. Thank you. So in that respect, when people do start with AI, all right, for those who haven't started, or for those who have started but are still trying to navigate it, there are 5 common mistakes that we see people go through, the unfortunate pitfalls, and those are grouped into 2 distinct groups. So the first group is the capability gap, right? Just because a technology like AI can do something doesn't necessarily mean it can do so reliably. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the right technology for the situation. So the first pitfall is not starting with a real problem. People just want to add AI to the website because they've been told to add AI to the website, not because it's actually a driver for business value, not because it's actually a problem that their users are facing. So this is really important to understand what are the core problems that you're trying to solve. And the second is understand the technology. You need to really understand how AI works. It is an emergent technology. LLMs are general purpose, but it doesn't mean that they do anything well. And it's kind of sometimes hard to understand or predict what they will do well or what they're not. So you need to find that overlap of having a real problem where AI is the solution. And the third is once you start actually adding AI to the experiences, is cleaning up the data, right? Just because you have data about your users or data on your website and website content, etc., just making it available to the AI, checking it in, is not going to lead to a good outcome if the data isn't good and ready for AI to digest it, right? All this love computing, garbage in, garbage out. You need to make sure that your data is ready to be consumed by AI and that AI can serve it in a way that solves the real business problem. Right. For those who's been saying that they're been held at gunpoint by the executives, yes, we know from Forbes that released this survey back in March or April, 75% of organizations reported no ROI on the initial AI investment. Right? They try to go through things, they just try to check it on. But because they didn't really understand what it's good for and whether it's solving a problem, they did not actually see a return on that investment. Doesn't mean they won't see in the future, but it means that it does take a little bit of time, which leads me to the second group of issues, which is the adoption gap, right? Is the solution actually useful for customer to adopt it, and how long will it take them to do it? So a lot of time rushing through implementation is a big cause, a big pitfall. When you select a thing and just chuck the AI on top, or just give it any sort of data without actually cleaning up the data, when you try to force it down on users, when you try to, for example, remove the contact us numbers and just you have to interact with the chatbot, and if the chatbot thinks you deserve a human, it'll refer you. Those are 2 main pitfalls. people will not, either the technology is not ready or people will not appreciate having a technology that's already foisted upon them. So I always recommend that people, you take a pull, don't push approach. You invite the early users and you let them help you nail down the implementation and walk through it and iron out all the bugs. And once that's ready, you sort of scale it and roll it out. Now, as we were saying, the webinar series is called Just at AI, but it's never just, right? Just is probably the most dangerous word when it comes to technology project. There is a hype, all the things that's coming out of Silicon Valley, that AI can replace people, versus the reality that AI can't. It falls over. There was a recent statistic done by Salesforce that about 58 in singleton tasks, when you ask something that it will do one task for you, 58% of the time it'll succeed, but 42 it'll fail. And when it goes to do multi-step, it drops to like 35 success rate. So there's a big gap between the hype and the reality. AI is a book expert, right? It has all the knowledge. You give it all the knowledge and it has read all the information, but it has a zero world experience, right? It doesn't understand this information. It cannot connect the dots. So just having knowledge, just having the information doesn't mean it can actually have knowledge about understanding and how to apply it. And we see very interesting emergent properties when you ask a model to do and analyze something and it can do it. It's really, really exciting to see the first time do it. But then when you say, okay, can you do it 10 times in a row? And you say, well, it failed on 3 out of 7, and we're not ready to release something that works 70% of the time or 90% of the time or even 99, depending on your use case, right? What is the use case, whether it is important enough? So the way that we always suggest people is to think of an AI as like an intern, right? Like a high school student or fresh off the boat. They don't have the world experience, even if they had the knowledge. They don't always work reliably. And it's not an expert, right? That's the reality of it. How can you make use of this intern to integrate them into your workflow so you can actually solve real problems and see an ROI, see a return on the investment in that? So to do that, we'll present you with a 6-step framework. A framework is not a process. It's 6 dimensions that you need to think about in order to help you reason through and build the right solution for you. It's a set of blogs that we've released on our website, and you can also email the address ask@squiz.net, and we'll send you a full PDF that will help you get this information and work through it. So step number 1, understand the capacity of AI to solve your problems. Like we said before, AI can do surprising things. The best way to think about it is like a pencil. It's a tool that you can use. You don't need to understand how to make a pencil, to use a pencil, right? You don't need to understand how to grow wood, which kind of wood, how to mill it, how to process it, how to where to mine the graphite, how to machine everything together to create a pencil. But you can still write with a pencil, right? So you can understand how to use the tool, even if you don't need to go deep into the math and algorithms that are actually building AI. But it does help you understand what the capabilities of the tool are. And in the same vein, just having a pencil doesn't make you an artist, right? Being able to write or draw a straight line doesn't allow you to draw hands like Da Vinci. So you still need those experts to understand what the domain is, how to use the tool, how to extract the maximum value from them. So once you have in mind that AI is a tool, that it's good for some things, but not for other, and you need people who understand what to do with it, you said, okay, let's start with assessing your business needs. What is the real pain point that the user is suffering, and whether AI can actually appropriately solve it for you, right? A lot of people say, oh, we don't want to reduce call center because the pain point is that user can't find the right policy. Yeah, perhaps Gen AI or any AI tool can find, analyze, locate the information and present it to the user in a natural language interface. That's excellent. If it was saying, well, we don't want to reduce call center volumes because we want the agent to perform complex bookings across multiple airlines or whatever, perhaps it's not the right technology. So start with the business problem, understand what's the key pain point and what the AI can help with that. Second step, and very important, be responsible. AI is an emergent technology, and there are a lot of problems in and around it. So I always advocate for people use AI responsibly. Yes, it's like a pencil, but it's also like a chainsaw. It can cause some damage if you're not careful. So the first thing to think about is human impact, right? When you put an AI solution, if it's recommending a song that people don't like and they skip, fine, right? Nobody cares. If you're telling people that they're not eligible for financial aid, and they were, that can have a really deleterious impact on their life. So you need to understand what is the impact of when this technology goes wrong, not if it will, it's probabilistic. When it goes wrong, what will be the human impact? How can we control about it? All that data that you feed into the model, do you have the legal and moral rights to use it? Right? Have the community given you the explicit permissions to use it to help it, and does it actually serve those people, not just utilized to foist inappropriate solutions on them? When you build solution, build explainability and escalation processes. So the AI system should be able to explain why I made this recommendation, why I provided this answer, why I returned those things. And when it's wrong, there should be a clear path for the user to say, that's not right. I need to speak to a human. The human should be on the other end saying, yeah, okay, let me review that. Was it correct? Was it not correct? And lastly, part of responsibility is being responsible global citizens. AI does have an environmental impact with the energy consumption. So use the right models, try to minimize and understand how it's being done. What's the social implication of using particular models, and always put governance in place to control that. All right, third step, choose high impact and low risk pilots. All right. So when you try, you will have lots and lots of ideas. And I actually want you to dream big. I want you to think about what can we do across our whole website, across our whole digital experience? Can we actually have this clear vision of how it will shape, how it will change? Because AI is enabling and forcing us to change. How will it look like once we get there? But on the other hand, start small. Start with one particular thing, one small asset, one small use case that you can test AI for. You can build the organizational muscle when you're rolling it out. For example, in higher education, you can talk about admissions FAQ. Like people have questions. Oh, do I need this? Do I need that kind of form? Do I need that kind of paper? And it's easily digestible, and then I can provide this information in a more readily accessible interface, that conversational interface, that immediate interface for users. It can help them reach that goal faster. It's a very clear use case that's very self-contained that you can roll out, for example. Step 4, use a team that's actually working on AI that's cross-functional across the organization, right? Help you build out across and reach out to everybody who might be impacted and help pull them into their discussions at the right time. So you need some sort of a lead or a task force that can actually drive this through the organization. It is a type of an organizational transformation. So when you have that core team, that the implementation team that's working at, they can work directly with the executive sponsor of the executive team that drive that, but they can also know when to pull in legal, when to pull security or finance, etc. They can know how to work with the public or regulators, however it is, it needs to be informed and talked about. So this is a simplified example from one project that we work on. We can work with you, and it should be fairly standard for any change management within an organization, understanding what are the broader implications if we put this use case, or if we have this vision, how do we build up toward it, who do we need to be involved, and when do they need to be involved to make sure that the project is a success. All right, step 5, assessing digital assets for AI compatibility. Like I said, garbage in, garbage out. You will have data that you will need to feed into. AI by themselves, LLMs by themselves, the models are general purpose technology that just been trained of all the information in the web, and you want to make sure that it's relevant for you, right? If people come to your university, they want to get information about the courses that you offer in the way that you offer them, not something they picked from university across the world, right? Or if they come to your local council, they don't want to pick up something from a council in England, which happen to have the same name, You want to make sure that the information that you do it correctly. So you basically go throughout the content, go out the sources of the content, and try to analyze it, understand according to all those dimensions how great it is, and then try to improve it. We actually have a big problem, a big program that we run with customers about preparing their content in order to provide it to AI when we implement those kind of solutions. And lastly, don't think it's a once and done thing, right? It's not, oh, we built this feature, we release it, public happy, that's it, we're done. It will take time to refine it. It will take time to iron out the kinks and review it. If you start small, you will want to expand it. So you do need to have a framework in place that allows you to monitor how it's going. You can regularly review it and iterate and build new experiences and expanded experience. You want to have all this governance framework in place so you can control everything. All right, so the key takeaways that I want you to remember from today before we move on to questions. One, you can't just add AI. It is a big process that you need to be prepared for. You need to start with a real business problem, and you make sure that AI is the appropriate technology to use it. Once you sort of identified all those small but promising use cases, select one that's a small one and work out to build it, monitor it, and grow it over time. As we mentioned, we do have all this information available on blog post and as PDF handout, so feel free to reach out either through the ask@squiz.net, or you can find me online, and we'll be more than happy to help with that. So with that, I'd like you to open for questions. MC, did we have any questions come through?
We do. The first one that came through, and I did answer it typing, but I'd like you to maybe just elaborate a little bit more. Michael Green was asking, what was step 3 again? I mentioned that it was choose high impact and low risk projects. Can you maybe just elaborate a little bit more on some of the key points that you went over in that piece?
Sure. High impact, low risk project. For example, I'll give you a couple of examples. One is what is the impact on the user? So when we're talking about digital experiences, things that happened when somebody is authoring the content and preparing it for publication are a lot smaller risk than something that interacts with the end user. So it's a lot easier for somebody who's looking at the page and saying, oh, this AI generated content, or AI helped me adjust the language to fit a particular audience, is appropriate before they actually hit publish. Second, when something that does interact with end users, so we have a conversational search program that help provide people those direct answers. We guide the users, okay, understand what's the slice of information, what's the answers that it can provide reliably and safely before you go to the full-blown virtual assistant kind of experience on your website. So we help people, guide them to understand what would be the impact, what would be the implication of the technology, and how can you navigate it, right? Can you offer tax advice for people? Probably not, but you can help them find the policies on the tax advice as the first step. Right, hope that answered the question. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And I actually think it will probably answer our second question, but I'll let you elaborate a little bit more on that. So we've got an anonymous attendee that said, thanks, this has been really helpful. The $1 million question is, how do we get started? What's the practical first steps to start using AI in website development? You gave us an example there. Is there anything else that you'd add to that?
I think, yeah, start with how an intern can help you, right? If you ask an intern, oh, can you give me 5 variations of this text that fit for, Gen Z or elderly people or whatever it is, whatever your target audience, right? And you look at those things and say, okay, yeah, I'll pick this one or tweak it a little bit because the language. That's a really good use case, a really good for an intern. Or you can, have an intern, you can answer those FAQ questions, right? It's not you don't put the intern in charge of the call center, but you help them provide that immediate information. That is sort of how you start. You start thinking, how do I integrate this useful but untrustworthy intern into my workflow? Just delegate tasks to them to help me get my job done faster.
Okay, thank you. Kate Liscombe has said, can you talk about GEO for websites? How do we ensure a website is optimized for GEO? Are there some simple things that can be done to your website to start optimizing it? For example, the other day she read, you can register a brand on ChatGPT so it appears in a search. Can you elaborate
Yeah,
a bit more on that, Asaf? Thank you.
yeah, definitely. GEO, for everybody who doesn't know, it's the new kid on the block after SEO. It's generative engine optimization. It's how to make sure that your information appears in answers provided by ChatGPT or by Google, etc. I won't speak to specific providers. Google released some things in Google I/O last week, and then ChatGPT are doing different things that they're doing. It may or may not be relevant for you with working with particular vendors and their particular ecosystems. However, in the same sense that SEO was the cherry on the cake, right? You couldn't just run an SEO on a bad website with crap content. You have to have really good content on a website that performs and is accessible. Same with GEO. You have to have really good content that answers it. So when you look at a page, does it have a title Contact Us, but you have 19 faculties with the page called Contact Us, and it's all the same. If you have a headline on the page and a paragraph below it, and the title doesn't really describe or doesn't really relate to the content, or the content is full of jargons and acronyms and is very industry heavy, not accessible to normal people, as in it's been approved by the lawyers or the academics, not for actual people. So these are signs that the content might not be in place. So you need to go through your site, do an audit, make sure that it's really clear and accessible, as in accessible to humans, not just technically accessible. And once you have that, AI will find, or AI systems will naturally find it easy to work with this custom and will naturally include it in content, or tend to include it in content when they think it's the relevant thing. There is limited things that you can do to influence how the AI overview by Google or the answers by ChatGPT actually include it, but having really good content will help you. And by the way, it also helps your regular visitors, because if you previously have a jargon heavy answer, just having a natural language answer will just help your users directly.
And for those of you in the webinar, in the current chat, we have actually seeded a blog around GEO. And for those of you watching this on the recording, we'll direct you to the link at the end. Thank you very much, Asaf. So you mentioned picking a use case that's low risk. You have touched upon this already. Can you just share an example of what low risk implementation might look like?
Okay. We've had a university here, NZ, that had registration information, right? But their aim is to provide better customer experience to the students. So what they're actually doing and what they're using our conversational search answer is not just to provide the answer to the student. It's actually to provide the answer for the help stuff, for the student support stuff. So the student support stuff say, yeah, I remember that there's this policy on this answer around it, but I can't find it or I can't remember exactly. So they'll run a quick search and it'll give them, oh, this is probably the answer and this is the page and this is how it talks about it. So it helps the customer support stuff rather than deploying it directly to the user. So this is, for example, how you can implement it, how you can say, okay, it's a very specific use case. We have a set of policies. We just need to find them. It's low risk because it's helping people who already know what the answer is. It just helps them find this information and formulate the answer faster before they can actually give it to the students. And it will allow them to grow because once they're actually comfortable that the AI is actually providing really good answers, once they can actually help it, they can actually expose that to the users. So this is one example.
All right, thank you so much. We touched on the importance of cross-functional collaborations, and one of the questions that have come in is actually about this. What's the biggest political or organizational hurdle you've seen when trying to get legal, IT, content, and business teams aligned on AI initiative? Like from experience of implementing marketing technology in other organizations, I know that has been a challenge for myself, but it'd be interesting to hear about this in terms of AI. Is it any different?
It's not. It's exactly the same. You have the project that start with, we need to do AI so our CEO can brag in front of his CEO friends from other states, right, across government or utilities or whatnot. You have organizations where you have different C-level executives with different directives. You have IT organizations that are swamped, and it's like, oh, AI is bad, we just don't have time to deal with it, so we're just going to shut everything down. Or legal people that says, well, nobody can touch our content, and you need, it's hard. It's something that you need to navigate. That's change management is a practice in its own right, and people get certifications and actually drive organizations through it. That's why we said you need to understand for your particular organizations, where do you see the pull and where do you see the resistance? So who's actually trying to get it to the direction? How can you work with them versus who's resisting? How can you work with them? A lot of it is getting it in a room, talking to them, understanding all their concerns, understanding the businesses, taking it on, navigating how can we address all those issues, whether we can offer them a solution that's to their particular concerns. For example, with AI, with cybersecurity, you can look at the whole supply chain of your vendors. You can say, look, we're using AI by this particular vendor. We know that they're hosting it on that particular hyperscaler, that particular cloud provider, and we have the guarantee that the information that we put in there is secure as everything else that we put there. All the information is stayed within a tenant. It's not actually shared with any third-party provider. All the personal information has been sanitized before it's being sent, even though we know it's not going further, just as an extra precaution. So you can build up all those concerns across your whole supply chain, across your whole organization, and find out how you can do it and how you can actually navigate that to get people aligned and say, okay, yeah, fine, let's keep going with this.
All right, thank you, Asaf. The next question we have is, do we need to test AI's responses regularly? For example, test that they're answering like frequently answered questions well and often, and can this be automated?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we take people on the journey of building conversational search experience, there are about 1,000 vendors of AI chatbots out there, and it's about as easy as signing with one in the morning and deploying it on your website in the afternoon and seeing your name in the newspaper for all the wrong reasons by tomorrow lunchtime, which is not what you want to do. So what we give people is actually a set of tools and processes to guide them through it, which is, okay, let's identify the questions that you want to ask. Let's run them again and again and check what the answers you can get from the technology. How do they provide you? Let's try variation of the information that goes through or the configuration of the chatbot or however it is to make sure that you're happy with those configurations, with the answers that you get. And those tools run in bulk. And so you can test, 20, 50, 100 questions, doesn't matter. But once you're happy with that, you can roll it out and move to the next section, etc. But you can also see what conversation are happening in the background, because we all know that if you expect people to ask 100 questions about your site, the minute you deploy it, somebody will come with the 101st question that you completely did not expect, and you want to be able to see that, and you want to be able to see what did the chatbot actually or the conversational survey or you actually provided for the user. Was it the appropriate answer? Is it something that we need to address? Are there particular areas where in practice we're seeing it's not performing well and we need to adjust it, or what do we need to do about it? So we absolutely give you the tool and the guidance and the process to do it. It's not a 24 hours and it's live. It's a 3 months. Here's the confidence that when you actually put it out in public, it actually serves your brand, not detracting from it.
Thank you, Asaf. Thank you, everyone, for all of your questions. We'll just spend a couple more minutes just putting these last few questions up. Asaf, where can we get analytics data about AI bots and agents from Google Analytics?
Not my area of expertise, Google Analytics.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll answer that after the session in the follow-up. How can we encourage our users to still exercise critical thinking while using AI services?
Yes, it's a cognitive bias that people have been told that, oh, it's a computer system, it's objective and unbiased, and just click yeah, okay, and accept next. When you look at how LLMs were trained, they're trained on stuff I found on the internet, basically, and then they've been post-trained by specific groups of people. So there is, instead of being an objective computer system, we just wanted to codify all of humanity's biases into this black box that we can't see. The best way to explain it to people is give them a couple of examples, like adding glue to your pizza, which is funny, but makes people at least understand that the technology isn't exactly trustworthy all the time, so they do need to think through. There is a book that I would recommend that you read that allows you to actually go deeper in that. It's called AI Snake Oil. It's about the hype in AI, right? So the technology is pretty good at certain things, but it's not at others, and you need to understand it. And that book does a really good review about what are the implications of this rampant hype of all the biases that we coded, etc. For everybody who's interested, I highly recommend reading it. It'll give you a good idea. But when you roll through your organizations, you need to explain to people, look, this is a new technology. It has been known to recommend people eat rocks for breakfast. Take everything it says with a grain of salt. Test it first, see what it is. It's like that intern, right? I gave you an intern. It's a high school student. They've been, they got their HSCs or the high school diploma, and they're really keen and can do it real fast, but they occasionally smoke weed and hallucinate. So check everything that they do before you roll with it.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Just a question in from Sam. We're going to try as hard as possible to answer any of these questions before the end, but anything that we aren't able to answer just due to timing, we will follow up with the follow-up email with the answers. So Sam has asked, you mentioned AI, using it responsibly. Do people care about being warned when they're seeing AI content or interacting with AI agents?
Do people care about, sorry, I missed that.
Do people care about being warned when they're seeing AI content or interacting with AI agents?
Yeah, I've read and agreed to the terms and condition is the biggest lie on the internet. Yeah, people don't, and that's why we recommend for anything internal, you need to brief your task and you be able to build it up. For anything external that's interacting with the consumer, putting that warning is one thing, but also using a pull, don't push. So you invite early adopters rather than shove it down the throat, etc. People care when it goes wrong, obviously. So you need to be able to be reasonably confident that it won't go wrong, or we'll stay on topic. And if the answers does seem wrong, there'll be a safety switch in there that cuts it off from actually rolling out. Yeah, it's hard thing to navigate. So that's why I said be careful about it, kind of plan for it in stages and over time.
Okay, thank you. We have a question in from Martin Viz. Apologies if I haven't pronounced that right. Is it likely that Squiz will incorporate more AI tools in the future that will potentially save organizations from build it themselves? What I'm getting at the balance between being an early adopter versus waiting on Squiz. Martin, we can provide you some information following this webinar, but Asaf, I'll also allow you to answer that question.
Yeah, like everything, you have a build, buy, or partner type of options. If you want to build it yourself, you need to recruit the right people with the right skills in this market where AI is the hot flavor of the day. Then you need to build all the organizational support around them to build everything, all the pipelines and all the data around it. Takes a while to build up that capacity in general, not just hiring the people. If you want to buy it off the shelf, you need to make sure that the solution is appropriate, that the vendor is using the right kind of solution, that it's actually fit for you. For your use cases, you need to understand enough about the technology to call bullshit and to direct what you're actually being provided. If you work with a partner, you need to trust the partner to be able to guide you and build the right thing. You need to have this working relationship. So there is a there is a trade-off in all of them, but you always need to understand, I would say, what the capacity of the technology, what you actually want to solve with it, and you need to be articulated and work with however way that you go through in making sure that whatever solution is being built, is being delivered, is actually fit for your purpose.
Okay, so we've actually come to time and we don't want to hold up anyone. I can see that there is quite a few other questions in from Adam, Kate, Cynthia. We will respond to those questions and get back to you following this webinar. And I just want to say thank you to absolutely everyone for joining us here today. Thank you to Asaf for all of your knowledge. It's been very insightful and very quick 45 minutes, and really appreciate your time. Just for those of you who are still on, we will send you a copy of this recording. You know, if you've still got more questions and you're keen to learn more, please reach out. If you're working with Squiz, reach out to your AM or just send us an email at ask@squiz.net. And you can also contact with Asaf. The QR code just down below will take you directly to his LinkedIn. And you know, don't forget to sign up for the latest updates if you're not already for Squiz's newsletter, which is at www.squiz.net/newsletter. We'll send a copy of the email, all of the questions that we've had answered during this session, and any more information in the follow-up. Thank you everyone for joining today, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you.